Okay, Brian is calling. I'll call him back in just a minute. In conclusion, do your part, but don't feel like you have to do it all. And in fact, check your motives. Make sure if you're wanting to do it all, if you're feeling like nothing you do is enough, that could be a side effect from trauma. It could be a side effect from being an A student. Like a classroom of 30 people, can you imagine if grades were numbers instead? If in that classroom of 30 people they just constantly ranked you and they came out and they told you which ranking you were, we wouldn't like grades as much. In a classroom of 30 people, all 30 probably would like to have a role and feel like they've had value. And in our modern system, we often act like only the one who makes it to the top has value. So this tree, to carry the metaphor further, this tree probably would like to have value without making others feel small. Probably would like to have value without feeling like its excellence makes other trees feel bad about themselves and like they need to switch places. So if you can just be excellent when you want to be excellent and then tone the F down and check the F out. The F stands for, well, fuck. I never swear, but tone it down. And this is a note to myself, really. I tend to go overboard on all subjects because I'm always expecting this excellence from myself. Like my college entrance essay that got me a scholarship was about weighted classes and how I was annoyed that I was 10th in my class instead of, first, second, or third in my class of like hundreds of people, because I was annoyed that because I was first chair flute and winning all these awards and going to state and I was in theater company and writing plays and all of that, that was non-weighted classes for those two classes, and then people who took 2 study halls in addition to their AP classes, which I was also taking the AP classes, and they took those 2 study halls instead, and study halls were not only non-weighted, they were 0. And so those people ended up with a higher GPA than me because I was 4.0 classes on theater and band, which is insane. It would have been better to put them as 0s, and then I could have been 3rd or 2nd in my class. Gross. My throat is like, please quit telling that story. It's a gross and dumb story. But I'm not saying, I guess I'm putting myself down and bragging at the same time. Gross. All of it's gross. Okay. I wasn't trying to brag. I'm trying to say, like, this is an epidemic. This is toxic. That is toxic thinking. And I got given grant money or scholarship money for thinking like that. And I'm not saying it was toxic that I was 10th and wanted to be 3rd. I'm saying the whole system is toxic. Why did I have to hate the people who were 3rd who took study hall? What did they do wrong? They just got to be valedictorian or whatever. So check your motives. In my case, my motives have often been towards excellence, and by excellence I usually mean the world's excellence. And from what I've experienced of this amazing epic tree, excellence usually just makes you feel lonely and different from and envied, and I think it's competitive, and I think competition is violent. Those are my actual beliefs. And competition says, I want to rise up, have more money, have more power, have more prestige at the expense of you having less. Like you would have to have less for me to have more because it would need to be in comparison to you. So I don't like that. I'm not saying like full communism. I'm just saying like, just check your motives. If you feel like God-led or whatever yours is, spirit-led, inspiration-led, heart-led, brain-led, joy-led, whatever yours is. Mine is God and all those things, but if you feel inspired to do something that makes you grow, and then you grow to some epic proportions, and you feel excited about that, like, don't look for back pats from everyone else, maybe, that's what I've always done. It's like, well, they may be suffering from either envy or confusion or frustration that their path isn't feeling very laid out, or who knows? Or they may sense that you did it for reasons of getting said back pats, and that's gross. And you shouldn't do that. And I've been doing that. And I don't mean to do that, but I think I did that with a lot of those challenges, like the 365 or the 12 albums in 12 months. Like, it was really important to me to feel recognized for what I was able to accomplish. And I love those songs. I love those songs. So it's nothing against the songs. It's just that there were 2 separate stories being told. One was the songs unfolding and me becoming more publicly myself. That's one story. But the other story was wrestling with my own attraction to ambition and thinking that the more I did or the more impressive I was, that somehow that would make people like me more. And I think it was actually the opposite, because it's not very relatable. If you're not somebody that driven by a strange ambition of excelling above what is normal, then you're gonna see that and you're gonna think that it's kind of annoying, probably. I don't know, I guess I can't understand it, because I was raised to be ambitious. I was raised to be all A's and get the scholarship and get paid to live in London. There it is, humble brag again. Or weird trauma storytelling brag. That's my new word for it, trauma brag. Oh, I'm so traumatized from how people gave me money to live in London for a semester, and I got to live there for free while studying theater and the arts. Trauma brag, that's my new term. So, I heard once somebody said, if you want to brag, just brag. That's actually less annoying than covering it up with something else. So I have lived a very epic life on a lot of regards. Like, if you look at my resume, it's on my website, jessicaandtherainbow.com. There's a resume and you can click it. And my resume just looks stupid because it doesn't fit on one page anymore. And so I had to condense everything, because I think I ended up music directing for like 25 musicals before I stopped music directing. And I worked with Sebastian Arcellis, who then, right after I worked with him, became Roger in Rent. And then he originated the role of Buddy the Elf on Broadway. And like, I always want to slip stuff like that in, like, woo, cool, I was his music director. Like, but the only reason I'd be doing that is because of an old, outdated belief that back in the old days when I used to do that kind of stuff, it did make people like me. Because when I was younger, people were very excited for me and like where I was headed. Or just because they thought that kind of stuff sounded cool. Like when I almost had music. I mean, but this is real. Like, it was already turned into a Chrysler commercial. The music for the song that I wrote, it's on In the Clouds Volume 2 under Jessica Fogel, Someone to Save. That music was stripped of its words and turned into a Chrysler commercial, and I have it. It was going to be in the Super Bowl. And I think that was 2012. And then they didn't end up doing it. But I would have made like $10,000 or more. 20,000? I don't even know, for them to use my music. And I believe in all kinds of spiritual reasons that I've been given failure at very accurate and appropriate moments. Or almosts. Not even failure. I've been given lots of almosts at very important moments. And 2012 was a time of great transition in my life, so it's good that I didn't suddenly have $20,000 or $30,000. I don't even know how much it would have been, but I still have that recording, and it's pretty cool. Anyway. You know, I'm like the tree that's in the shadow of the big tree. I'm that smaller tree saying, well, where's my fair share? I'm like Sally from Peanuts. All I want is what I have coming to me. All I want is my fair share. And she's like, making her brother write the Christmas list. It's like, well, we don't get our fair shares sometimes, you know? It just is what it is. And my life has been more than full enough, and I'm more than blessed enough. I was gonna say hashtag blessed because I know it became like a joke for a while in the whole counterculture. I mean, I didn't even used to say the word God because I felt that the music scene culture would just ostracize me, and maybe some did. Because I probably seemed judgy against witches for a while, but it's just because I had such a dark past of being like what almost felt like spiritually manipulated by people. And it happened in multiple times in my life, but emotionally manipulated, spiritually manipulated, verbal abuse, sexual abuse. Is that a trauma brag? I just realized that. Even listing my abuse sometimes is probably like a trauma brag. Like, well, I've had every kind of abuse. What about you? It's like, no, this is insane. It's completely insane. I don't want anyone to have their head thrown into the floor. I'm saying it in this moment so that you know that, like, yeah, these are real things. Sometimes maybe I turn them into stories and lists as a way of kind of detaching from them a little bit. In the beginning, the whole reason I shared my trauma openly was as a way of giving myself permission to let myself off the hook a little bit from some of the success and ambition thoughts that I was raised with. because I absolutely have needed to let myself off the hook of success and ambition thoughts. I think Brian was trying to call me, and now I'm looking and I'm like, is that him? Maybe. Nope. Different white car. Alright, well, it wasn't the SUV. Over there. I should go, because maybe he wants to get lunch. Alright.